going on, guys? Alex back for another episode of the HD Cards podcast. Joining me as always is my co-host Mark. Mark, how's it going today, buddy?
Pretty good. How about you, man?
Good, man. I'm doing great. Today we got a lot to cover, so we are going to get right into the show. I first kind of wanted to touch on a little bit of a retail roundup for this week. I know our last show we talked quite a bit about kind of the new Target policies and what's going on over there. So I thought that would be a great place to start. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that'd be a really good spot, especially since you've kind of lived on both fronts, not only going into Target week after week trying to get like any type of stock that you could get, any wax, but now you've also had success with their new model. So first, tell us about like what Target's doing compared to what they were previously doing.
Yeah, so
We got a special visitor in the back with the dog
there. Yeah, so this was the first week that I've been able to get some stuff online with the Target online drops. So obviously, if you guys don't know, Target's not doing trading cards in stores, I believe as of like May 14th. So we're approaching about a month on that now. So it's basically gone all online. And I really haven't done this for the last few weeks, just because of a few factors, but one of them being that the time that they're dropping is super, super early for us on the West Coast. We can get a little bit more into that in a minute, but basically all the sales are going online for now for Target. If you want to get up on Fridays, I would recommend trying. The limit has been moved way up from what it was when we were back in stores. So you can actually get quite a bit of product on there if you're able to get your hands on it and you got your all your Target information preloaded ahead of time. So basically it's going to be Fridays around it was around 7 Eastern is usually when the drops have been starting. It's even gone a little bit earlier than that, as far as about like 6:30 Eastern some Fridays. There's no set time, there's no set product that you can guarantee. I saw a lot of people asking, like, is this dropping, is that dropping? It's no one knows. It's kind of just a general idea of what's going to be out. And yeah, so it basically this morning it was around 7 Eastern, and they had some Select Football, some Chronicles Football, Score, and then some Bowman baseball as well, and some Pokemon. So that was a pretty good array of items on there. Most of the stuff sold out extremely fast. So if you don't have all of your Target information signed in and all that, you're literally not going to be able to get anything. That's I was actually watching a live stream kind of as I was buying some product this morning, and there was tons of people in there like, oh, like, how do I enter my card number and all this stuff? And I'm like, dude, if you're entering your card number, it's long gone. Like, yeah. And so, there was actually quite a few people in the live stream that I was watching. It was actually, I'll give him a shout out. It was JNR Sports Cards, or JR Sports Cards, I believe is what he's on YouTube. He's actually was super helpful. If you guys haven't checked out his channel, I'd recommend you do. But he kind of had a lot of people in his chat just asking very, very basic things. So if we want, we can talk about kind of what my method was going in to be able to get cards.
Yeah, so just to reiterate real quick,
yeah,
what they're doing is they're shifting to an online approach that they're dropping anytime between like 6:30 to 7 o'clock, and this is Eastern Standard Time. For those of you who don't know, we're recording on the West Coast. We're in California, so that's about 4 a.m. for you. So you're saying this morning you had to get up at 4 a.m. to get this drop.
Yeah, I got up at actually 3:30 to make sure I had all my stuff ready to roll. I just set an alarm, and then the first drop happened at 4, and then another one at about 4:15. And then I actually stayed on for quite a while to see if basketball would drop at all, but there was no basketball today. So I ended up just going back to bed after about like an hour and a half just to get a few extra hours of sleep in.
I love it. So now that we kind of know what Target's doing, now what are you kind of doing that's giving you the edge or giving you the advantage so you can get some product?
Yeah, so basically there's been the one major kind of change on Target as of this week, I believe, was that they aren't showing out of stock items on their website. So basically what you have to do is I just would put into the search trading cards on their website, and then sold by, and you select Target just to make sure it's the retail and not a third party seller. And then you can go to brand, and that'll show the different sports. So like right now, if you were to go on their website, for example, and you were to go to brand, it wouldn't even show you NFL or NBA as an option, even if you choose to include out of stock at the bottom, it won't show you those items basically. So they don't put those items on there until about 10 minutes before they're going to do a drop. So basically, you kind of just have to sit there and wait and refresh the trading cards page every few couple minutes and see if they've added anything. And then yeah, so about like I would say actually probably about 5 minutes before 4 a.m. for us, the NFL little box popped up as a selection. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I clicked that as select, searched, and yeah, there was select megas, select blasters, chronicles, megas, blasters, and fat packs all up on there, and they just show us out of stock. So that's when other people are just freaking out, thinking that it's already sold out and everything, but it's no, you just gotta wait, gotta refresh, and then it's gonna come in stock. And the order that it went for today was blasters, megas, and then whatever else was available. So the select basically sold out within seconds. I couldn't even get it. I literally had it in my cart, check, confirm, and it was gone already. There were some people in that live stream that had like monitors, I guess, where they can see the exact amount of boxes that were put out. And select was around about like 5,000 boxes nationwide. So that's basically nothing at all. I mean, there was over 2,000 people in this live stream. So when you can get
that's like the first 4 bots. Like
yeah, well, and that's a lot of people were claiming bots, but there was a lot of people in the stream that were getting product, and apparently Target's been like fighting bots pretty hard. Whereas Walmart, I guess, has just been getting destroyed by bots if they ever put anything on their website. So I don't necessarily think that, bots maybe are a huge issue with Target right now, but it's just a very limited amount of product and a lot of, demand for it. So yeah, the select sold out in just a matter of minutes. I should mention too, for blasters, there's a limit of 10 right now. So you can get 10 blasters on the online. And I mean, that's a lot, obviously. The megas, the max limit was 6 megas. And then I believe on the fat packs, I only bought 1 fat pack box just to be safe. I was, I guess, really, really lucky to get the fat packs. Apparently there was only 2,000 boxes of fat packs and I got one of them. So I was super stoked. But yeah, the very limited supply. The Chronicles was up maybe for a few minutes. Definitely more Chronicles. I think that was around 15,000, I want to say, on most of those boxes. But once again, when you can buy 10 blasters a person, like that's going to go super, super fast. And then what else was there? Oh, there was some Score Football. If you're looking for the New Year products, I didn't bother with that. That was up for, I think, about 5 minutes. So that, I mean, if you're just looking for something to rip, you can get your hands on something.
yeah, and I saw there was a lot of Bowman as well. I know that the baseball products, they don't go as fast. I even heard some YouTube content creators saying that they had baseball that was even up halfway through the day,
Yeah.
that you could still buy.
Yeah, last Friday there was Bowman blasters, I believe, that were up for about half of the day. And then there was a couple megas as well. This Friday apparently there was 50,000 megas of Bowman. So compare that to the 5,000 of select, and you obviously can see with less of a demand for baseball in general, and then what is that, 10x the supply? I think that lasted a couple hours up on the site.
That is wild to me. And also just a PSA for anybody who's listening, who's kind of getting into the hobby and everything. We're going to do a best practices at the end of this, but the difference between Bowman Chrome and Bowman Paper is a big difference. Bowman Paper is the one with the red B in it. That one doesn't normally hold a lot of long-term value or resale. Trying to avoid those PSAs as well. There's a lot of Bowman Paper PSA 10s, but they're really not worth anything long-term. Just the PSA I wanted to throw out there, but it is crazy how much more product there is available for the MLB versus, NFL. I haven't seen 10 blasters in person, let alone being able to buy that much online. Like that's a completely different era. So would you say that you're more in favor of this new style than their old approach, kind of the archaic style?
I mean, it definitely has its positives, I would say. Like, obviously being able to buy more if you can actually get something checked out is sweet. Like I don't even know what I'm gonna think when I see a box with 10 blasters come in. Like, that's gonna be nuts. But at the same time, obviously, like for us on the West Coast, it's really, really early to be up. And yeah, I guess, it's once a week, and I've you can kind of go back to sleep. But to be honest, like my day has been pretty much shot from being up that early and trying to get a couple extra hours to sleep in. So that's definitely a drawback. but it does seem to be fairly consistent, and it was pretty much kind of like they weren't rolling it out all at once. It was kind of in waves, so there was some, something new kind of popping up every 5 minutes or so that you could try to get in before it cleared out, which I definitely think was a positive for now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that that's a lot of good tips also for anybody who's looking to get some cheaper wax without having to pay 3x prices. I mean, getting up at 4 o'clock probably isn't the ideal solution, but it's better than paying 3x sometimes. So I mean, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Do you want to have any final thoughts on the target or anything that you want to share?
I just would be on the lookout for. I mean, if you guys are going to be trying to do this next week, once again, I would just try to get up early, get your stuff logged in. I there was no basketball at all this week, which I thought was a bit strange. But there should be some basketball next week. So if you're looking for that, maybe I would try to prioritize getting up next Friday and doing that. And Walmart's apparently have still been dropping stuff on in store on Fridays as well. Our Walmart actually stocked this Friday as well, but I wasn't able to get anything there. I guess they had some prison basketball. So if you're looking for basketball, yeah, I would either try Walmart's or hopefully maybe next Friday morning on Target.
It's awesome. So you can still get prison basketball, and that's so alarming. Even during the NBA playoffs, it's hard to get basketball product right now. You'd think this would be a good ideal time for them to be selling that, but I
Yeah,
digress.
yeah. I thought it was strange, and also that what is it? Contenders basketball was supposed to come out last week, I believe, and I think like they released a little bit of it, and it got like shut down super quick, and then nothing came out this week. So not really sure what's going on there, if they're having like issues with the retail product or what. But I think that will probably be out heavily next week if I had to guess.
Yeah, you'll probably be able to buy that in abundance, I would guess. But on to the next topic. So you want to give us a little bit of a recap of kind of what's going on in the hobby, like during this week or our weekly roundup?
Yeah. So just to kind of change gears, we do want to kind of have like a weekly, since we're kind of doing a weekly show right now. I thought it'd be a good idea just for us to kind of touch on, week stuff that's going on in the hobby basically throughout the week. Kind of one of the bigger headlines this week was the BGS shutdown, following in the footsteps of PSA. I think probably a lot of us kind of saw this coming with just a huge volume increase, I'm sure, going over to BGS. They basically did the same thing that PSA had to do and have just basically shut down all submissions at this point. I don't know. It sucks to some extent, but it's like at the same time, I don't really know what else we expected, with obviously a huge volume increase for them.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too. I honestly got the feeling when I heard that BGS was shutting down, I got the feeling that they finally thought it was okay to shut down after every other grading company shut
Yeah.
down. They're like, okay, we can finally do it. Because we talked about it on our last week's podcast or our last episode's podcast about how backed up they were, and they still weren't putting orders on hold. So I think even Sports Card Investor stopped doing submissions to them because they were so backed up, but they do SGC and PSA now, so go get it. But I think that that's kind of their mentality was they're like, oh, it's okay to do this? Cool, let's go and pump the brakes on it because I think they're very, very back ordered.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like they were just as behind as PSA, if not taking longer on a lot of it. So I just think that was pretty much writing on the wall that was coming. And honestly, it's probably going to happen to the smaller grading companies now that are going to get flooded. I guess maybe it'll be dispersed out a little bit more between the HGA and the SGC and what is the other one? CSG, all the abbreviations. But that may slow it down a little bit for them, just kind of people trying to find an alternative. But I think right now it's just like people just got to chill out for a little bit. Like there's not really, I just don't think, especially if you're sending in like super rare or like high dollar cards, I just really wouldn't be sending those in to these other companies right now. I think you got to just kind of chill and hold on to your stuff for a bit and wait for some of the madness to simmer down a little bit.
Some of the madness settle down. It's a really nice way to put it too, because we could even get into kind of what's affecting the market, but we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, just I was also going to mention some good news coming out of PSA. They actually posted that they are caught up entering all submissions. So basically, they've entered everything that they've received allegedly at this point. So they should just be full steam ahead grading, and hopefully we'll start to see some movement on their website. Or if you follow, I forget what the account is on Instagram. I can try to pull it up here in a second, but There's a great account that shows like the daily movements for PSA on Instagram. I'll take a look in a minute and see if I can find that. But yeah, hopefully we get a little bit caught up there and they can make some serious headway on some of the submissions that are super behind. I think Modern is still around end of August, early September on submissions, and same with Ultra Modern. So if they can get that going a little bit, we'll definitely start to see some returns back soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Hopefully, is wishful thinking as well. But we kind of already touched on this a little bit earlier too, with kind of what is driving this market correction or the lower, I guess, price for the cards everybody was used to back in December and January, and it seems like it's really deflating at a time when others would think that it'd almost be popping, with it being the NBA playoffs. But you look at a Giannis card, you look at a Luka card. I mean, we know how spam printed those are, or the Lukas in particular. But why do you really think the market is kind of at a low point right now, or kind of on the downslide?
Yeah, so we've definitely seen a quite a bit of a market downward trend on basically all products, basically all cards in the last maybe 2-3 months here. And I think kind of multiple things that we've even touched on before are all kind of factoring into the overall decline right now. PSA being shut down, that's a huge factor. I think a lot of people, especially just, I don't know, people that were in the hobby before the whole boom, a lot of people liked ripping stuff and sending the good stuff to PSA, and now that's just not really an option, let alone trying to find something to rip. So we have the store, the retail products being not available, hobby prices being astronomical, PSA basically not accepting cards, or if they are, then those prices are astronomical. So that's going to take a huge hit out of your potential profit on those cards. Those are all kind of factors that I think are driving down the overall market right now, and I think just general like interest in the hobby. Is there a couple factors that you think as well?
Yeah, I think that the general interest is really what's being attacked right now. And I think that a lot of it could just be burnout from people who got into the hobby. And I mean, you and I got into it back because it kind of tied to what we got into the hobby originally when we were younger, where it was like giving us something fun to rip. We really liked doing that. I feel like a lot of people liked getting into the hobby or like getting back into it for the same reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But for other reasons you brought up, with the price of wax being 3x what it should be, with you not being able to go into a store to even buy any, not to mention all the kids in the hobby who really can't even do anything with their product, or they can't even get their hands on any unless they have, and we touched on this in the last episode too, a savvy parent who can help them like factor around all this with like good best
Yeah,
practices.
that wants to wake
But
up at 3 a.m. and put their card information into the Target website.
exactly, and just sit there and refresh. It takes a special type of person to do that. And so I think that a lot of the big money that flows into the industry or into the market, like really in October, September of last year, it really flushed out all the small investors. And then you bottle that with the pandemic, and it really gave people an escape to really focus on something else outside of their lives. And it was during the bubble, during the NBA, so it really gave a lot of focus, a lot of hype. Now the world's kind of reopening, and we have the vaccine out, and that's great. Everything's cool. But now it's like, what does everybody's focus switch to? You only have so much bandwidth. People have to go back to their regular daily lives. They have to go reinvest that money somewhere else. Maybe they're going out to dinner more. So I think that a lot of money is just naturally going to be leaving it. That and take away some stimulus checks. You don't have so many people just throwing it around, buying some Top Shot all day. But
Yeah.
that's where my kind of take is on it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with those points as well. It's I think that's a huge contributing factor as well. People, oh, I'm gonna cash out this $2,000 card and we're gonna go to Disneyland for 3 days, 3 nights, have a great time with the family and stuff like that. I definitely think that's a factor. I mean, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing at all that the market's going down. I think it definitely is a bit of a correction. It's also a bit of, yeah, just kind of a, not like a loss of interest, but maybe a little bit of a interest shifting to other places. But I think in the long run, that it's going to be good as long as the hobby kind of stays healthy. But it'll be good for people to maybe hopefully you'll be able to get waxed a little bit sooner, and because I mean even just from getting waxed, that's just like a fun gamble. People love a good gamble, so I just think things like that will become a little bit more realistic. I know for me personally, I've kind of started looking at some higher end cards or so that I've wanted for a while, and those have come down substantially. So it's like, okay, cool, maybe I can pick this Kobe up card or this Kobe card up now, and maybe even give it a month or two. It might even be a little bit lower while summer's going full bore. So I think it's just a good time to kind of enjoy what you have. If you got some higher end stuff that you don't particularly love, I think you just got to make the decision of like, do you want to try to get out of this what you can right now? You want to sit on it for a bit. That's I think for me, most of the stuff I have is kind of guys that I like or cards that I enjoy. So I'm not too bent out of shape on anything, kind of dropping in value. But it's just you got to kind of make that decision for yourself, obviously.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that kind of is a really good natural segue into our next like topic, really getting into kind of the best practices for all the new people who are kind of entering the hobby at a really good time in our eyes. When we kind of got into it, it was kind of booming, so it was like you're paying premium prices. But for any of those new people who are looking not to get burned, do you have any advice or best practices for them?
Yeah, I would definitely say obviously do your own research, but if you're going to follow other research, it's always good to find some other people that are in the hobby that know what they're talking about. And obviously that can be kind of hard to decipher sometimes on who knows what they're talking about, who's just pumping and dumping stuff. Actually, speaking of that, I did see someone, this is on TikTok actually. Follow us on TikTok, by the way, HD Cards, if you don't already. They were on TikTok and they bought a Serena Williams PSA 10 card, and it had his sold price for 2,300. And then that was like 2 months ago, and then the current price on it was $200. and
Oh,
and so I just would be very wary on what you're buying and who's telling you to buy stuff. If like, to be honest, if someone's straight up giving you buy this card, I just wouldn't buy it, because especially if that's coming out on like a YouTube video or something, and it's, hey, buy Luka Doncic now before he makes the finals or something. I would be very wary of that kind of stuff, because a lot of the bigger content creators, they have a huge following and can really inflate prices just based on things that they're saying. And even the smaller and mid-tier guys that maybe have just like a private paid Discord or things like that, where they'll post, hey, I'm gonna make a video with these 5 cards in it, this is what's going to be in it if you want to get on them early. And then they'll those prices are going to go up probably 2x or whatever. Maybe if it's $100 on the card, you're going to be in trouble if you're buying after the video comes out. So I would just say, generally, if you're watching content and it's giving you specific cards, I wouldn't necessarily say specific players. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but just be wary of that. If they're giving you very specific things to buy, that's just a prime candidate for a pump and dump. If it's more content driven towards, hey, like, I would look at this card around this price, I think that's definitely a much better um, method to follow. You can kind of just jot that down or make a mental note of, hey, if I see this Garnett rookie on eBay for under this price, like that's a good buy. Things like that. I think that's pretty sound market advice. And you got to just make your own decision at the end of the day. But just things like that are small tips that I would just kind of use for myself personally. Is there
yeah,
anything
and
that you use?
yeah, and I think that's a great tip too. I mean, we always kind of go in the same mentality of fade the public, because you're never going to make money by taking somebody else's advice, especially when it's kind of recycled. And I'm glad you touched on that, because I feel like a lot of people don't know about the private discords where they actually, I mean, it's a community where they can all profit together. And I get it, it's a business for them. So if they all know that they're going to have 100,000 views pumping on in a week on a card that they can go ahead and talk about now, it's a good ROI for them. So it's smart for them. But other people get burned by this because they're over here taking the innocent information, think that it's good willing, but they get burned. So I'm with that. Don't listen to the dude telling you to buy his players. Even if we tell you to buy players, go do some research. I mean, utilize other tools, utilize market movers, utilize Card Ladder if you want, utilize other ones that can like help you gauge comps, like a Star Stock. You don't necessarily need to buy on Star Stock because the prices are high, but use those tools to kind of gauge the price. And if you have something like market movers, you can truly track the trends, and you can also see the pop. So if you know how many are in circulation, there are some other people that use the market cap method, more Warren Buffett's approach to it. But if you can kind of think for yourself on if this is a good buy compared to if this player in comparison to say LeBron James, like what's their overall ability compared to him, and then check their price value and then see if it's makes sense. Because this is something a lot of people should have been asking themselves back in the bubble last year when everybody was buying Tyler Harrow. Does that really make sense? And
Yeah.
his cards were consistently selling higher than a slabbed Steph Curry
Yeah.
and a rookie. And to me, that's honestly like that's brain dead to me because
Yeah.
it's like this is a guy who made one smirk after hitting a hard shot, and now we're gonna think that he's the best shooter in all of the NBA. But there's so many different use cases of that, and I don't want to throw like Ronald Acuna or Tatis out there because I think they're phenomenal baseball players. But I also remember a time when I thought Troy Tulowitzki was a phenomenal baseball player, and you can buy a PSA 10 autograph of his for about $15 now. And he was at once a top 10 dynasty baseball target, but players can fluctuate quite a bit, and then the hype really drives a lot of it. So buying consistent players that you know are going to hold long-term value, or simply stick to what you and I do. Buy players that you really like. They're your PC. You're never going to get burned by looking at that. It's like I can look at my De'Aaron Fox cards. I don't really care what the rest of his outlook is. I hope he's a Hall of Famer, but he's already meant enough to me. I mean, as I'm rocking all the King stuff, he's already meant enough to me to where I just like looking at his Galactic card, or I like looking at one of his other rookies that I have. But
Yep.
other than that, I mean, just beware of those private discords. Beware of the content creators are telling you.
Yeah, and I just there was something you brought up. I was gonna make a point on. Just kind of like comparing certain guys with a lot of hype to already proven players. I think is a great thing that you mentioned. Specifically, something that comes to mind for me is like obviously like I want to buy some Justin Herbert stuff because he's really good and he's kind of the hot QB, and but his prices are just insane. Like he has basically Mahomes prices without a Super Bowl, without playoffs. I mean, if you compare Justin Herbert prices to like Russell Wilson, for example, like it's incredible. Like the amount of pop on the Herbert stuff and the price compared to Russ, who's already won a Super Bowl and is basically a playoff staple every year. I just think that's definitely a really good call out to just kind of when you're looking at a price of a certain guy, kind of compare that player to other players in a similar skill set or price range and kind of decide like, should he be here, or is this just really hype driven to where he's 7-8 spots higher kind of in the price range than he should be. So I just thought that was a great point to bring up. And then as well as just trying to buy, we always talk about pop count, but if you're buying stuff that's super short print, if you're buying stuff low pop count, 200 PSA 10s or whatever, honestly, even if you overpay a little bit for that, it's really not going to be a big deal in the long run. I think most of the low pop stuff is you're going to be perfectly fine, buying that stuff, even if it's a little bit of an overpay. If it's something that you like and it's low pop, I say go for it. Smash the buy it now, make an offer, and I just don't think you could really go too wrong with that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Kind of avoiding the base and sticking to the short prints,
Yep.
serial numbers, good parallels. I always like the team color, jersey color matching
Yeah.
parallels. Those are ones that I always look for. But yeah, get a little more creative with it. Stay away from the base, and especially if people are telling you to buy that base. Look for something that's a little bit more rare than that. But I think that those are really good tips. Also, for anybody who doesn't know and hasn't seen our YouTube channel, Albal actually did a really good breakdown going over some really popular tools in the market or in the industry that you can really leverage to utilize that. So go through our YouTube, pull that out. Just some good game to give out. But Alba, I mean, that's all that I really have. You got anything else you want to send us out?
Yeah, man, I think that was it for today. I think we killed it. We covered a lot in just about 30 minutes, so I think we nailed it. Thank you guys so much for watching/listening. We'll be back again with another show shortly. And if you don't already, follow us on Instagram over there at hd.cards. We're on YouTube and we're on Spotify. If you're not listening on Spotify already, make sure you go over there and drop us a follow on Spotify. And we will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.
Take care.